I own your ranch now." This HOA Karen shrieked, brandishing a power drill like a weapon as she tore into my property at 6 a.m. with no permission. No heads up, just a wild woman wielding tools, smashing my fence to bits to slap up her so-called community access gate. She waved some flimsy fake papers in my face, boldly claiming my 50-acre family ranch was now under her HOA reign. This audacious woman actually built a gate straight into my land and gave me a measly 24 hours before throwing it open to the public. Little did she know what a determined rancher with a construction crew could pull off in one night. Her precious gate was about to be rendered utterly useless. Comment your country, let's see how far this HOA nightmare has traveled. The morning sun hadn't even peeked over the horizon when that infernal drilling noise jolted me out of a deep Saturday sleep. You know that gut punch of waking up and instantly sensing something's terribly off. That was me, stumbling out of bed in my boxers and faded ranch shirt, trying to wrap my head around which crazy construction crew had lost their marbles starting work this early. I grabbed yesterday's coffee mug, still half full and ice cold, and shuffled toward the racket. What I glimpsed through my kitchen window made me forget all about warming that coffee. 5 hard-hatted men were erecting a massive metal gate, smack dab on my property line, not beside it, not near it, but right on it, with gate posts already cemented into my land as they hung the structure in place. Monstrosity of welded iron bars, like they owned the place. I stormed outside so fast I didn't even grab shoes. The wet grass squelched between my toes as filed my marched toward them, probably looking like a madman with my hair sticking up and yesterday's coffee sloshing in my mug. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I shouted over the drill noise. The workers immediately stopped and exchanged uncomfortable glances. One of them, a younger guy who couldn't have been more than 20, actually looked apologetic. "Sorry, man," he whispered when his supervisor turned away. "She pays triple rate for weekend rush jobs. We need the money." Before I could ask who she was, I noticed something that made my blood pressure spike even higher. The gate had a digital display mounted on top, a massive LED countdown timer showing HOA access begins in 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, and counting down. That's when I heard her. The click-clack of expensive heels on my gravel driveway announced her arrival before I even turned around. Veronica Sterling power-walked toward us like she owned the world, clutching a clipboard to her chest, and wearing what I can only describe as the uniform of every suburban nightmare, a beige pantsuit that screamed, "I need to speak to your manager." Energy. Her perfectly styled blonde bob didn't move, despite her aggressive stride, and a laminated badge reading "Ha" President bounced against her chest with each step. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," she chirped in that fake, sweet voice that made my teeth hurt. "I see you've discovered our wonderful new community improvement project. This gate will provide HOA community access as per the new regulations passed last month. Isn't it exciting?" I set my coffee mug down very carefully on a fence post because I didn't trust myself not to throw it. My ranch isn't part of any HOA. Veronica never has been, never will be. You know that. She smiled, that condescending smile that made me want to scream, and pulled out a piece of paper from her clipboard. It was a photocopied map that looked like a child had drawn it in crayon, with property lines that conveniently included my 50-acre ranch in their newly expanded HOA territory. Oh, but it is now, she sang. We expanded last month to include all properties within a 2 m radius of the community center. Didn't you get the email? Check your spam folder. These things happen. She was already pulling out her phone and I could see her opening a live stream app. Good morning. Ha, family, she cooed at the camera. I'm here at the Carter Ranch, where we're installing our first community access gate. Despite some resistance from difficult neighbors, progress doesn't stop for a few stubborn holdouts. The comments were already flooding her screen with hearts and thumbs up emojis from what I assumed were her loyal followers, who had no idea what was really happening. I wanted to grab that phone and tell them the truth, but I knew that would only make me look like the crazy rancher she was painting me as. This is illegal, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You can't just declare my property part of your HOA. I've owned this land for 15 years. My grandfather owned it for 40 years before that. Her smile never wavered as she turned the camera toward the gate. Phase 2 starts tomorrow, a lovely walking path through your pasture, so our residents can enjoy nature walks. Won't that be wonderful? She pulled out a ring of keys and locked the gate with a theatrical flourish, dangling them in front of me like a carrot. Better get used to neighbors using your yard as a shortcut. Mr. Carter, it's called community spirit. If she was already taking a selfie with the gate in the background, her fingers flying across her phone screen as she no doubt posted it everywhere with hashtags like HOA progress and community first. The construction workers were packing up their tools, clearly eager to leave before this got uglier as they loaded their truck. Memories flooded back of my grandfather standing in this very spot 30 years ago, tears streaming down his weathered face as an HOA from the neighboring development forced him to tear down the horse stables he'd built with his own hands. Not up to community standards, they'd said, and eyes sore. They'd called it. He'd fought them in court for 2 years and lost everything, his savings, his health, and finally the stables. This land is our legacy, son, he'd told me on his deathbed. Never let anyone take it from you. Never let them control what's ours. I stared at that LED countdown timer, now showing 20 hours, 47 minutes, 33 seconds, and felt something cold and determined settle in my chest. Veronica Sterling thought she'd won. She thought I'd roll over like everyone else probably did when faced with her fake authority and social media mob. She had no idea who she was messing with. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to my lawyer's number, then to my construction contact who owed me a favor from when I helped him out during the pandemic. I had less than 21 hours to make this right, less than 21 hours to show Veronica Sterling and her fake HOA exactly what happens when you mess with Carter land. The timer kept counting down, each second ticking away like a heartbeat. 20 hours, 46 minutes, 12 seconds. I looked at that ugly metal gate one more time and smiled. It was the first genuine smile I'd had all morning. But what if I told you that by sunrise her precious gate would be completely useless? Comment below. What would you do with just 20 hours to fight back? Night fell over my ranch like a blanket of possibilities. By 8:00 p.m., my gravel driveway looked like a construction convoy had invaded 3 trucks, 2 equipment trailers, and 15 of the hardest working men in the county, ready to pull an all-nighter. My construction buddy Mike had come through in a big way when I explained the situation. Someone's trying to steal your land. with a fake HOA. He'd laughed over the phone. Hell, Liam, I'll bring the whole crew. We've all got stories about those HOA vultures. The men unloaded prefabricated brick panels from the trailers, while I spread out the permits on my truck. Who'd everything's legal, I told them, tapping the papers. Unlike her gate, which is sitting on private property without permission. My lawyer confirmed it. We can remove anything built on my land without consent. The night air was cool and crisp, perfect for what we were about to do. I'd also invested in something special that afternoon for new security cameras with military-grade encryption and cloud backup that even a tech genius couldn't hack. She got into my old system, I explained to Mike. As we positioned the cameras, found out she sent a fake HOA email with malware attached. I clicked on it like an idiot, and she got access to everything. Not happening again. The cameras went up first. They're red, recording lights blinking like eyes in the darkness. By 1:07 a.m., we were ready for the main event. The gate had to go, and we needed to document everything I filmed. As Mike's excavator bit into the metal posts, the satisfying crunch of destruction mixing with the beeping of heavy machinery. Each piece was carefully labeled and photographed, evidence that this gate had been illegally installed on my property. By 11 p.m., the real work began. The brick panels I'd ordered weren't just any bricks. They were 18-thick, reinforced masonry designed for maximum durability and, more importantly, maximum visual impact. You sure about 8 feet high? Mike asked as we checked the measurements. I'm sure, I replied, thinking about Veronica's smug face. I want her to need a ladder just to see over it. The foundation went in first, concrete mixed extra strong, because this wall wasn't just for show, it was a statement. The men worked like a well-oiled machine, and some mixing mortar, others positioning panels, everyone understanding that this wasn't just another job. This was justice being built one brick at a time. The wall rose steadily through the night, red bricks gleaming under the work lights. By 3 a.m., we were adding the finishing touches, motion sensors that would to trigger floodlights if anyone came within 5 feet of my wall, a beautiful metal sign that read, "Private property, keep out," in letters so large you could read them from space. The workers were getting punchy from exhaustion, but their spirits were high. This is the most satisfying job I've done in 20 years. One of them said, admiring our handiwork. Wish I could see her face when she shows up tomorrow. So did I. The wall stood 8 feet tall and ran the entire length where her gate had been, plus an extra 10 feet on each side. For good measure, it was beautiful in its simplicity, just solid red brick and mortar, built to last a century. No gaps, no weaknesses. No way around it except to go back to the public road like everyone else. The fog rolled in around 6 o'clock a.m. Just as we were cleaning up, it was like nature itself wanted to add drama to the reveal. The wall disappeared into the mist, creating an ethereal scene that looked almost magical. I paid the crew in cash with a generous bonus, and they packed up quietly, several of them asking me to send videos of what happened next. I promised I would after they left. I stood there in the morning mist with my fresh cup of hot coffee, properly heated this time, and admired our nice work. The LED timer on top of the wall's location still blinked somewhere on the ground where we'd carefully removed and set it. Aside it now read, "Ha. Access begins in 0 hours, 37 minutes, 12 seconds. I checked my phone and saw Veronica's social media already buzzing with excitement. about the grand opening celebration she'd posted of updates throughout the day yesterday. Carter Ranch lands one post read: refreshments will be served as we cut the ribbon on a new era of community togetherness. She'd even invited a local news crew to cover the event. I could see their van pulling up. Almost see the wall, but not quite. Used to be 7:25 m. 5 minutes until showtime. I could hear car doors slamming as people arrived for Veronica's big moment. 7:30. A.m. arrived with all the fanfare Veronica had planned. I counted at least 40 people gathered in my former gateway, all holding cups of coffee and pastries. She'd provided a banner reading HOA Community Gate Celebration stretched between two posts. We'd thoughtfully left standing. The news crew was setting up their shot, the reporter practicing her lines about community spirit overcoming individual resistance. Veronica stood at the center of it all, wearing a bright red blazer that would show up perfectly on camera, holding a giant pair of ceremonial scissors. "To your new community access point," she announced triumphantly. "This represents the future of our neighborhood, where barriers come down and neighbors come together." She brought the scissors down on the ribbon with a flourish. The crowd started to surge forward to enter the gate, and that's when the fog cleared. The silence was absolute. 40 people stood frozen, staring at 8 feet of solid brick wall where they expected to find an open gate. Someone dropped to their coffee cup, the ceramic shattering on the ground, and the only sound for what felt like an eternity. The news camera was rolling, capturing every second of Veronica's face as it went through the 5 stages of grief. In fast-forward, denial came first. She actually rubbed her eyes, like she might be seeing things. Then anger, her face flushing red to match her blazer. Bargaining was brief as she looked around wildly for the gate. Depression hit as her shoulders sagged, but acceptance that never came. Instead, she let out a shriek that probably scared birds 5 miles away. "What is this?" she screamed, rushing toward the wall. "Where is my gate? This is illegal. Tear it down now." She actually kicked the wall with her designer heel, which snapped off instantly, sending her stumbling. The crowd was no longer silent. Some were gasping, others laughing, and I could see at least a dozen phones out, recording everything. The news reporter had abandoned her prepared script and was now narrating the unfolding drama. Like a sports commentator, the HOA president appears to be attempting to scale the wall, she said into her microphone as Veronica tried to find a foothold in the brick, but her pencil skirt is proving to be a significant handicap in this endeavor. The skirt ripped with an audible sound that drew more laughter from the crowd. Veronica slid down the wall, her hair now disheveled, her perfect image shattered. The live viewer count on the news station stream was climbing rapidly to 1,000, 5,000, 15,000. And rising. That's when I decided to make my entrance. I strolled out with my coffee, taking my time, savoring each step. "Morning, Veronica," I called out cheerfully. "Nice weather for a wall viewing, isn't it?" She spun around, her face contorted with rage. "You, property. I'll sue you for everything you have." The news reporter immediately shoved a microphone in my face. "Sir, did you build this wall overnight?" I looked directly into the camera and winked. "Build what wall? This wall's been here for years. Sturdy construction, isn't it?" The crowd was eating it up, several people openly applauding. Veronica looked like she might spontaneously combust. "I have pictures," she shrieked. "I have evidence of the gate." I sipped my coffee calmly, Oh, you mean that gate someone illegally installed on my private property? Yes, I had that removed. You'll find all the pieces neatly stacked by the road if you'd like to collect them. The news reporter was trying not to smile as she turned back to the camera in a shocking turn of events. What was supposed to be a community access celebration has become a standoff between a local rancher and the HOA president. We'll continue following this story as it develops. The crowd was dispersing, some looking disappointed about missing their nature walk, others clearly entertained by the morning's drama. But I noticed something interesting. Several people were approaching me quietly away from Veronica's site. Is it true she installed that gate without permission? One elderly man asked. She fined me $500 last month for having the wrong color mailbox. A woman added, she told me the HOA owned easement rights to all property in the area, made me pay $300 for a variance to keep my garden gnomes. I was starting to see a pattern and I didn't like it one bit. How long before she strikes back with something even worse? Type wall. If you think Liam's revenge was justified, 2 days of sweet victory. 2 days of watching my wall video spread across the internet like wildfire. 5 million views and counting, with news outlets from 3 states picking up the story. Local rancher builds wall against HOA overreach. Read one headline, The Great Wall of Texas. I was feeling pretty good about myself, answering emails from supporters and even doing a phone interview with a national radio show. Veronica had been suspiciously quiet since her very public meltdown, and I made the rookie mistake of thinking she'd given up. She's done, I told myself over dinner, scrolling through comments on the news clips. No way she comes back from that humiliation. I should have known better. Predators are most dangerous when they're wounded and silent. The doorbell rang at 6:00 p.m. just as I was settling in with leftover pot roast and the evening news. Through the peephole, I saw 2 police officers standing on my porch, their expressions serious. My stomach dropped, but I opened the door with what I hoped was a calm smile. Officers, what can I do for you? The older one, whose badge read Sergeant Williams, didn't smile back. Mr. Carter, we need you to come with us down to the station. My mind raced, but I kept my voice steady. May I ask what this is about? The younger officer shifted uncomfortably, but Williams maintained his stern expression. You're under arrest for threatening Veronica Sterling with a deadly weapon. You have the right to remain silent. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? I never threatened anyone. This is insane. But they were already pulling out handcuffs, reading me my rights as my neighbors peeked out their windows. Police car, like a common criminal at the station. They led me to an interrogation room that looked exactly like the ones on TV. Gray walls, metal table, one-way mirror. William sat across from me with a laptop. Mr. Carter, we have video evidence of you threatening Mrs. Sterling with an axe yesterday at 3:00 p.m. He turned the laptop screen toward me, and what I saw made my blood run cold. It was footage from my own security camera, the timestamp clearly showing yesterday at 3:00 p.m. In the video, a figure that looked exactly like me was waving an axe at Veronica, who cowered in fear by the wall. The audio was clear, my voice saying, "Come near my property again, and I'll split your skull open." The only problem, I don't own an axe, and yesterday at 3 p.m., I was at the bank in town, 20 meters away. That's not me, I said, my voice shaking. I don't even own an axe. Check the bank cameras. I was in town at 3. Williams raised an eyebrow. This is from your own security system, Mr. Carter. Are you saying someone faked this? That's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. The HOA email. 2 weeks ago, I'd received an official-looking email about updated HOA regulations with a link to a PDF. I'd clicked it without thinking, curious to see what nonsense they were pushing. The file had seemed corrupted and wouldn't open, so I deleted it and forgotten about it. She sent me an email with malware. I said the piece is falling into place. I clicked a link, and it must have given her access to my system. She made this video. With AI, it's a deep fake. Williams looked skeptical. That's a pretty elaborate theory, Mr. Carter. You're saying the HOA president is some kind of tech criminal mastermind? The younger officer spoke up for the first time. Sarge, deepfakes are getting pretty sophisticated. We should at least check his alibi. Williams sighed and made a phone call to the bank. 20 minutes later, he hung up with a frustrated expression. Bank confirms you were there at 3:00 p.m. yesterday, but my relief was short-lived. However, he continued, the video is still evidence of a threat, even if the timing is off. Could have been recorded earlier, and the timestamp changed. Judge Matthews set bail at $10,000. You can't go within 500 feet of Mrs. Sterling, and will need to do a full digital forensics analysis on the video. I felt sick. How much does that cost? William shrugged. Private forensics, about $5,000, maybe more, unless you can prove it's fake. This case moves forward. $10,000 for bail, $5,000 for forensics. Veronica was trying to bankrupt me. They let me make my phone call, and thank God, Sarah Chen answered on the second ring. Sarah was my neighbor from 2 lots over, a paralegal who'd always been friendly but kept to herself. Liam, I heard they arrested you. This is Veronica's doing, isn't it? Her voice was tight with anger. Sarah, I need help. Can you come down here within an hour? She was sitting across from me in the visiting room, her usually calm demeanor replaced with cold fury. I've been investigating Veronica for 2 years, she said without preamble. Ever since she destroyed my career with fake complaints to my firm. I was waiting for the right moment to expose her, and I think that moment is now. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. Liam, I have access to the HOA database through my paralegal work. I've been documenting everything she does, but what I found recently, it's bigger than just fake fines and property disputes. She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot that made my jaw drop. It was an email thread between Veronica and someone named TechWizard_12, discussing the rancher problem and making the video believable. But that wasn't the biggest shock. Look at this, Sarah said, swiping to another screenshot. This is from the official HOA website, the real one, not the fake one she created. Liam, she's not the HOA president. She never was. The real HOA is run by a 5-person board with no president position. She was kicked off that board in 2021 for, and I quote, attempting to forge documents establishing a presidential position that does not exist in our charter. My head was spinning. 3 years. This woman had been pretending to be HOA president for 3 years, collecting fines and terrorizing homeowners with completely fake authority. I sat in that holding cell after Sarah left, staring at the gray walls and questioning everything. Maybe I should just sell the ranch and move somewhere else, somewhere without HOAs and crazy neighbors and digital frame jobs. This land had been in my family for generations, but was it worth this? Was it worth going to jail over? Was it worth spending every penny I had fighting someone who clearly had no limits? Maybe I should just give up. I muttered to the empty cell the next morning. Sarah visited again, and she must have seen the defeat in my eyes. "You're thinking about giving up," she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded, too tired to pretend. "Otherwise, that's exactly what she wants. Liam, that's what she counts on, people getting too tired, too broke, too scared to fight back." She pulled out a photo from her purse. It was old and weathered, showing a younger Sarah standing proudly in front of a law office. "I was on track to become a lawyer," she said quietly. "Passed the bar exam, had a job lined up at a great firm then. Veronica decided my house was an eyesore because I had the wrong type of flowers in my garden when I refused to change them. She fabricated sexual harassment complaints against me to my firm, anonymous complaints. But I knew it was her. The firm had to let me go, pending investigation. By the time they found no evidence, my reputation was ruined. No law firm would touch me. I've been working as a paralegal for 3 years, watching her destroy other people's lives. The sarin way she looked at me straight in the eye. Your grandfather didn't give up when they came for his stables. You told me that story once, at the block party. He fought for 2 years. He lost, but he fought. Are you really going to do less than he did? She was right. Grandfather had fought even when he knew he'd probably lose, because the principle mattered, because the land mattered, because standing up to bullies mattered even when they had all the power. Besides, Sarah added with a small smile, I know how to destroy her legally, completely, and in a way that will make your wall video look like a warm-up act. She stood to leave, pausing at the doorpost. Bail, Liam, trust me, by the time I'm done, Veronica Sterling won't just be leaving you alone. She'll be too busy dealing with law enforcement to bother anyone ever again. As she left, I felt something I hadn't felt in days, hope, and underneath that hope, a burning desire to see Veronica Sterling get exactly what she deserved. The fake HOA president was about to learn what happened when you messed with the wrong ranch and the wrong neighbors. She thought she'd trapped me, but she'd actually trapped herself. She just didn't know it yet. What if the person terrorizing your neighborhood never had any authority at all? Comment. Expose her if you want to see Veronica's empire crumble. Sarah's living room looked like a detective's evidence board from a crime show. Papers covered every surface, connected by color-coded strings. Photos pinned to the walls, laptop screens glowing with database information. She'd been busy in the 48 hours since I'd posted bail, and what she'd uncovered was staggering. 3 years, she said, handing me a cup of coffee. 3 years of this woman pretending to have authority she never had. Look at this. She pulled up the real HOA website on her laptop. It was simple, professional, clearly legitimate. Just 5 equal votes on any issue. Now look at this. She opened another tab showing Veronica's elaborate fake HOA website complete, with her photo under President Sterling and dozens of made-up rules and regulations. She bought the domain name 1 letter off from the real one. People Google Riverside HOA, and hers comes up first because she pays for search engine optimization. The evidence was overwhelming. Fake letterhead, fake badges, fake documents, all bearing an HOA seal she'd had made at a trophy shop. But the worst part was the victim list. Sarah had compiled names and amounts, and the total made me sick. 47 households. Over $200,000 in fake fines collected over 3 years, Sarah said grimly. Marcus Johnson fined $500 because his grass was allegedly 1 in 2 tall. Betty Wilson, $300 for having the wrong shade of beige mailbox. Tom Willis, $1,000 for an unapproved bird feeder that attracted nuisance wildlife, and the list went on and on. Each fine came with threatening letters about liens and legal action if not paid promptly. Most people paid rather than fight what they believed was a legitimate HOA. She targets new residents, Sarah explained. People who just moved in, don't know the neighbors, don't know there shouldn't be an HOA president. She shows up with her clipboard and badge, quotes regulations that sound official, and people just comply. Sarah had done more than just collect evidence. She'd been in contact with the real HOA board, and they were furious. They've been getting complaints for years about rules they never made, fines they never authorized, she said. But Veronica always intercepted the complaints, told people the board was under review or in transition. The real board members are retired folks who meet once a month to plan the community garage sale and maintain the playground. They had no idea the extent of what she was doing, and we spent the next 2 days reaching out to victims, and the response was overwhelming. Marcus Johnson nearly cried when he learned the truth. I'm on a fixed income. He said that $500 was my medication money for the month I went without blood pressure pills to pay that fine. Betty Wilson was angrier. I knew something was wrong. Real HOS don't find you from mailbox colors without sending a warning first, but she said if I didn't pay, she'd put a lien on my house. What was I supposed to do? The real breakthrough came when Tom Willis revealed he'd secretly recorded Veronica. During one of her visits, something felt off, he said, pulling out his phone. So I recorded our conversation. In the audio, Veronica's voice was clear. Pay the $1,000 by Friday or I'll make sure every house on this street knows what a problem neighbor you are. I have ways of making life very difficult for non-compliant residents. It was perfect extortion, plain and simple. Sarah and I worked with the real HOA board to organize an emergency meeting. The board members were eager to help, mortified that someone had been impersonating their organization. We printed 500 flyers and delivered them to every house in a 2 meters radius. Urgent, verify your HOA leadership. The flyers read, Emergency Community Meeting, Tuesday, 700 p.m. Learn the truth about who's really in charge of your neighborhood. We made sure to put them directly in mailboxes, not trusting that Veronica wouldn't intercept door hangers. The response from Veronica was immediate and panicked. She sent a mass email to her victim list. Fake meeting alert. Do not attend the fraudulent meeting being organized by disgruntled former residents. The real HOA board will be holding our own meeting next month. Anyone attending the fake meeting will be fined for supporting community disruption. But people were starting to question things. The seeds of doubt we'd planted were growing. Sarah grinned as she showed me the email. She's scared. Good, she should be. Tuesday arrived, faster than expected. The community center was packed by 6:45, standing room only. I counted at least 200 people, all buzzing with conversation and speculation. Sarah had set up a projection screen at the front, her laptop, ready with all our evidence. The 5 real board members sat at a table to the side, looking slightly overwhelmed by the turnout. At exactly 7:00 p.m. Sarah took the microphone. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice steady and professional. What you're about to see will shock you, anger you, and hopefully empower you to take action. She clicked to the first slide, a side-by-side comparison of the real HOA website and Veronica's fake one. The crowd murmured, She moved through the evidence methodically, the forged documents, the fake badge, the trophy shop receipt for the presidential seal with each slide. The murmuring grew louder when she showed the victim list with dollar amounts. People started standing up, recognizing their names. "That's me." Someone shouted, "She fined me $800 for parking my work truck in my own driveway." Another voice, $300 for excessive holiday decorations. I had one string of lights. The room was getting heated, but Sarah maintained control. "Please let me finish. There's more." She played Tom Willis's recording, and the room went dead silent. Threats echoed through the speakers, each word another nail in her coffin. When it finished, Sarah delivered the killing blow she projected. Veronica's termination letter from the real HOA board, dated 2021. Reason for termination, Sarah read aloud. Attempting to forge documents, establishing a presidential position that does not exist in our charter, misrepresenting board decisions, and conduct unbecoming. A board member. The room erupted. People were shouting, some crying, others demanding their money back. That's when the double doors burst open. Veronica Sterling stood there, in full HOA president regalia. Blazer, badge, clipboard, the works. "This is an illegal assembly," she screamed over the noise. "I am the Delhi-led president of this HOA, and I order you all to disperse immediately." The room fell silent. For a moment everyone staring at her. Then Sarah calmly clicked to her final slide. A blown-up image of Veronica's termination letter. "Actually, Mrs. Sterling, you were terminated from the board in 2021. You haven't had any authority here for 3 years." Veronica's face went through several colors. Before settling on purple lies, she shrieked, "This is a conspiracy. I'll sue every single one of you." One of the real board members, a soft-spoken, elderly man named Robert, stood up slowly. "Veronica," he said sadly, "we gave you a chance. You were a good board member at first, but you wanted power. We couldn't give you authority that didn't exist. This has to stop." The crowd was getting restless, and someone near the back shouted what everyone was thinking, "Call the police." "Sarah was already dialing way ahead of you," she said into the microphone. The police arrived within 10 minutes. Apparently, they had been investigating complaints about Veronica 4 months, but hadn't been able to prove anything until now. The lead detective took the microphone from Sarah. "Folks, we're going to need statements from anyone who paid fines too. Mrs. Sterling, please form an orderly line to my left." The line stretched out the door. Veronica tried to leave, but 2 officers blocked her path. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us for questioning." She pulled herself up to her full height, clutching her fake badge. "I am the HOA president." She screamed one last time. The detective looked at her with pity. "Ma'am, the HOA doesn't have presidents. It never did." As they let her out in handcuffs, still screaming about conspiracies and lawsuits, the room burst into spontaneous applause. People were crying, hugging, sharing stories of what Veronica had put them through. Marcus Johnson shook my hand with tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for standing up to her." But the best moment came when Sarah pulled me aside. "The forensics on your video came back," she whispered. "It's confirmed as a deepfake. The charges against you will be dropped." Relief flooded through me so fast I had to sit down. It was over. The reign of the fake HOA president was finally officially over. Or so we thought, as we celebrated with our neighbors, sharing contact information and making plans to recover the stolen money. None of us knew that Veronica's story was far from finished. She'd lost this battle, But in her mind, the war was just beginning, and her next move would be her most desperate. Yet, what happens when a fake HOA president meets a real judge? Smash that comment button with guilty if you think justice is coming. The courtroom was packed. 6 months had passed since that explosive community meeting, and finally, Veronica Sterling was facing real justice. I sat in the gallery between Sarah and Marcus Johnson, watching as Veronica entered in an orange jumpsuit that clashed horribly with her salon-perfect hair. Gone was the power-walking HOA president. With her clipboard and fake badge in her place stood a woman who'd spent half a year in county jail awaiting trial, and it showed the judge. The Honorable Patricia Ramirez was known for creative sentencing that matched the crime. As the prosecutor laid out the charges: fraud, impersonation, theft, extortion, I wondered what she had in store for our fake president. The evidence was overwhelming. 47 victims testified over 3 days. The fake websites, the forged documents, the recorded threats, the deep fake video she'd commissioned to frame me. It all painted a picture of a woman who'd built an empire on lies and intimidation. Veronica's defense was pathetic. She claimed she thought she really was president, that it was all a misunderstanding, that she was providing a valuable service to the community. The judge wasn't buying it. When the verdict came back guilty on all counts, Veronica actually looked shocked, like she'd convinced herself that her lies were true. But it was the sentencing that would become legendary in our neighborhood. Judge Ramirez stood, adjusted her glasses, and delivered justice with surgical precision. Mrs. Sterling, she began, you spent 3 years pretending to have authority over others, collecting money under false pretenses, and making people's lives miserable. You particularly seem to enjoy wielding power over Mr. Carter's property. She paused, a small smile playing at her lips. Therefore, I sentence you to 6 months in jail, which you've already served, 2 years probation, and full restitution to all victims. Additionally, the judge continued, and here's where it got interesting, you will serve 1,000 hours of community service. This service will be performed at Mr. Carter's ranch, where you will serve as a gatekeeper and tour guide. You will explain to visitors how you attempted to illegally access his property and the consequences of your actions. You will wear a shirt that clearly states, I pretended to be president. During all service hours, work schedule will be 6 o'clock a.m. to 2:00 p.m. daily until hours are complete. The courtroom buzzed with whispers and suppressed laughter. Veronica's lawyer jumped up. Your Honor, that's unusual and potentially humiliating. Judge Ramirez cut him off. Your client spent 3 years humiliating others. She wanted access to Mr. Carter's property so badly, she committed crimes to get it. Now she has access as his employee, unless you'd prefer. She served the full 5-year maximum sentence. The gavel came down. It was official. The fake HOA president, who tried to steal my land, would now spend her days guarding it. The irony was so perfect, it felt like fiction. But there she was, 2 weeks later, standing at my ranch entrance in a bright orange visibility vest. I'd set up a small booth for her with a chair, water cooler, and a sign: wall tours daily, learn about property rights and HOA fraud. The first tour bus arrived at 8 a.m. sharp. Korean tourists who'd heard about the infamous Karen Valual online. Is this the famous wall? They asked excitedly. Cameras ready. I watched from my porch as Veronica forced a smile. Yes, this is the wall. I'm the person who tried to illegally build Build a gate here, the tourists gasped, and started taking pictures with her by noon. She'd told her story 10 times, how she'd pretended to be HOA president, how she'd installed an illegal gate, how I'd replaced it with a wall overnight, how she'd tried to frame me with a fake video, how she'd been caught and prosecuted. Each telling seemed to hurt her more than the last, but she had to do it. Part of her sentence included full and honest disclosure of her crimes to anyone who asked. Kids were the worst for her. They had no filter, no politeness to cushion their questions. Are you the bad lady from the videos? One little girl asked, why did you lie to everyone? A boy wanted to know, my mom says you're a criminal, are you sorry? Veronica had to answer them all, had to admit her wrongdoing over and over, had to face the disappointment in their eyes. I made sure she had plenty of water and allowed her breaks, because I'm not a monster, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy watching her squirm. The wall had become a tourist attraction. I'd added some landscaping, painted a mural on my side depicting the whole saga, even put up a photo booth where people could take pictures. The tour groups loved it. They'd come for the wall here. The story from Veronica herself, then buy merchandise from the stand. Marcus Johnson had set up shirts, mugs, even bobbleheads of Veronica in her orange vest. All proceeds went to the Victims Fund, helping people recover what she'd stolen. My personal favorite was when other show presidents would bring their boards to see her. This is what happens when power goes to your head, they'd tell their members. Veronica had to stand there and agree, had to warn them about the dangers of overreach, had to be a living cautionary tale. The ultimate karma was that she was actually good at the job. Her years of bossing people around translated well to crowd control and tour management. 3 months into her sentence, something shifted. I was refilling her water cooler when she said quietly, I'm sorry. I nearly dropped the water jug. What? She wasn't looking at me, just staring at the ground. I'm sorry for everything, the gate, the video, all of it. I got so caught up in having power that I forgot why I wanted it in the first place. I studied her for a moment. Why did you want it? She laughed bitterly. Would you believe? I just wanted to make the neighborhood nicer, fix the playground, organize events, build community. But nobody listened to just another board member, so I made myself president. And then I couldn't stop. Each lie needed another lie to support it. It didn't excuse what she'd done, but for the first time, I saw her as a person instead of just a villain. Well, I said, finally, you're building community now, just not the way you planned. 6 months in, Veronica had become a strange fixture in our lives. She knew every tourist by nationality, could predict which questions they'd ask, had memorized 50 different ways to tell her story. To keep it fresh, she'd started adding details about property law and legitimate HOA functions, turning her humiliation into education. The local news did a follow-up story, interviewing her at the wall. What would you tell others who might be tempted to abuse power? The reporter asked. Veronica looked directly into the camera. Verify everything. If someone claims to have authority over you, check it. Real authority doesn't mind being questioned. Only fake authority gets angry when you ask for proof. It was good advice, delivered with hard-won wisdom. The reporter turned to me. Mr. Carter, how do you feel about this unusual arrangement? I thought for a moment. She wanted to control my property. Now she protects it. She wanted to humiliate me. Now she educates others about her own mistakes. Seems fair to me. The wall tours had evolved into something bigger. Sarah had started a website called Know your rights with resources about dealing with HAs, identifying fraud, and standing up to bullies. She featured Veronica's story prominently. As a warning, we'd helped dozens of people in similar situations across the country. The YouTube channel I'd started, Daily Karen Watch, had exploded every day. I'd post a short video of Veronica giving tours, answering questions, or just reflecting on her crimes. The comment sections were gold, people sharing their own HOA horror stories, celebrating justice, demanding updates. The ad revenue went straight to the victims fund. One video, Karen apologizes to victim number 23, got 10 million views. It showed Veronica personally apologizing to each person she'd wronged as they came to see the wall. Some forgave her, some didn't. All of them needed to see her brought low. My favorite video was Karen explains property law to law students. A local law school had brought a class to see the wall and hear about property rights from someone who had violated them. Veronica had to stand there and lecture future lawyers about respecting boundaries, both literal and legal. The professor used her as a case study in ethics. The students took notes while she explained how she'd rationalized to each crime, how she'd convinced herself she was helping the community, even as she robbed it. The road to becoming a tyrant is paved with small compromises. She told them, first, you bend one rule for the greater good, then another, then you're making up rules, then you're forcing others to follow your made-up rules. Then you're standing here in an orange vest, explaining your crimes to strangers. It was profound, actually. Who better to warn about abuse of power than someone who'd abused it as her 1,000 hours neared completion? I had a decision to make. Veronica had become part of the ranch's identity. The wall was famous because of her. The tours were popular because of her. The cautionary tale worked because she was there to tell it. So I made her an offer: stay on as a paid employee. I said, one morning minimum wage, but you can lose the shame shirt. Just give tours, tell your story, help people understand how has really work. She stared at me in shock. You want me to keep working here after everything? I shrugged. You're good at it, and maybe helping others avoid your mistakes is better penance than just disappearing. She thought about it for a week, then accepted. The orange vest was replaced with a professional polo shirt. The booth got upgraded to a proper information kiosk. She even started a blog about HOA reform. But the story doesn't end there, because just last week I got a call from Sarah. You're not going to believe this, she said, excitement in her voice. There's a new development going up on the other side of town, and guess what? Someone's going around claiming to be the HOA president, collecting fees before the houses are even built. I smiled, looking out at Veronica, explaining property rights to a group of tourists. Send them our way. I said, I think we have just the expert to handle this. Veronica overheard and raised an eyebrow. I nodded toward the phone. Want to help us catch another fake president? For the first time since this all began, I saw her genuinely smile. You know what I really would? Nobody should go through what your neighbors went through, what I put them through. And that's how Veronica Sterling, former fake HOA president, became a consultant for HOA fraud prevention. It's been a wild ride. From that morning I woke up to find a gate on my property. The wall still stands, a monument to standing up for yourself, and your rights tours still happen. Daily and Veronica, she's still here teaching people the hard lessons she learned the hardest way possible. Because sometimes the best person to warn others about a trap is someone who fell into it themselves. Sometimes karma isn't just about punishment. It's about transformation, and sometimes, just sometimes, the person who tries to control your property ends up protecting it instead. But I keep my eyes open because you never know when the next fake president might show up, and when they do, well, I've got a wall, a camera system, and a reformed fake president ready to spot them from a mile away. Think this is over? Wait till you hear about the new Karen moving in next door. Comment part 2 if you want to see Liam take on another fake HOA president that escalated.